Welcome to our lectures in the series of English grammar. First, I would like to say some words about the structure of the course. The course consists of 4 parts. And the first part, we are going to discuss the notion of grammar, its origin and evolution, as well as its main types. Then, we'll move on to the discussion of the basic concepts employed in modern English grammar. The second and third parts are devoted to the study of morphology and syntax. In morphology, we'll focus on word formation, parts of speech, and their grammatical categories, while in syntax, our attention will be mostly concentrated on the sentence and its different classifications. We'll finish our course of lectures with the discussion of the text, the main communicative lingual unit of the highest rank. We'll review its structural types and grammatical means of text cohesion. Our lectures are based on the books by which grammar is taught in American and European universities. The list of references comprises such books as Student Grammar of Spoken and Written English by Biber, Conrad, and Leach, A Course in Theoretical English Grammar by Bloch, An Introduction to Language by Fromkin, Rodman, and Hyams, A Student's Grammar of the English Language by Greenbaum and Krug, Understanding Morphology by Haspelmass, Understanding Syntax by Tallerman, and Pragmatics by Georgiou. We provide each lecture with a list of references that will help you expand your knowledge on the given topic. The topic of lecture 1 is Grammar in the Systematic Conception of Language, the Development of Grammar and its Types. Language is an essential feature that distinguishes us from other living beings. It certainly figures centrally in our lives. We discover our identity as individuals and social beings when we acquire language during childhood. Language is a means of cognition and communication. It enables us to express our ideas and emotions, to think for ourselves, or set control over others. But first and foremost, language is a means of transmitting information that helps us cooperate with other people. When you know a language, you can speak and be understood by others who know the same language. Knowledge of a language enables you to combine words to form phrases and phrases to form sentences. But not every string of words constitutes a well-formed sentence in a language. Therefore, in addition to knowing the words of the language, linguistic knowledge includes rules for their combination to form sentences and make your own judgments. These rules must be limited in length and number so that they can be stored in our brains. Yet, they must permit us to form and understand an infinite set of new sentences. You cannot buy a dictionary of any language with all its sentences, because no dictionary can list all the possible sentences. Knowing a language means being able to produce and understand new sentences never spoken before and never heard before. The American linguist Noam Chomsky refers to this ability as a creative aspect of language use. Not every speaker of a language can create great literature, but all persons who know a language can and do create and understand an unlimited number of new sentences and the process of communication. Thus, creativity or creative aspect of language implies a human ability to create and understand an infinite set of new sentences and the process of human interaction. There is a difference between a person's linguistic competence and his or her linguistic performance. A person's linguistic competence implies the knowledge which is necessary to produce sentences of a particular language, while the application of such knowledge and the process of speech making determines his or her linguistic performance. Speakers' linguistic knowledge permits them to form sentences of any length by joining phrases and words together or adding modifiers to a noun or a verb. For the most part, linguistic knowledge is not a conscious knowledge. The linguistic system, the sounds, structures, meanings, words, and the rules for putting them all together is learned subconsciously when language is acquired during childhood, while in adulthood it is acquired with great awareness, that's with great efforts. Language is a system of signs. It can function as a means of communication due to the unity and interaction of its three constituent parts or subsystems. These parts are the phonological system, the lexical system, and the grammatical system. Without any of them, there is no language in the above sense. The phonological system determines the material phonetical appearance of its meaningful units. The lexical system is the whole set of naming means of language, that is, the vocabulary. And the grammatical system is the whole set of regularities, the set of rules which determine word and sentence formation and the process of discourse. Each of these three constituent parts of language is studied by a particular linguistic discipline. The sound system is studied by phonology, the vocabulary is studied by lexicology, and the regulating rules of word and sentence formation are studied by grammar. What is grammar? The word grammar derives from Greek. It means art of letters, because in Greek the word grammar had a meaning of letter. The term grammar is used in two meanings. On the one hand, in its wide sense, the term refers to the explicit theory constructed by the linguist to describe the speaker's linguistic competence. On the other hand, in its narrow sense, the term grammar refers to the study of morphology, that's the rules of word formation, parts of speech, and their grammatical categories, and syntax, which implies the rules of sentence formation. These two parts of grammar, morphology and syntax, are often complemented by phonology, lexicology, and pragmatics. Our ability to speak and understand and to make judgments about the well-formedness of our sentences reveals our knowledge of the grammar of our language. About 2000 years ago, the Greek grammarian Dionysius Thrax defined grammar as that what permits us either to speak a language or to speak about it. Grammars are of different types. There is a descriptive grammar of language that does not tell you how you should speak or what rules you should know to speak. It only describes the rules that are already known. In other words, a descriptive grammar describes your unconscious linguistic knowledge. Because of this, such a grammar is a model of the mental grammar that every speaker of the language knows. Another type of grammar is a prescriptive grammar, which attempts to legislate what your grammar should be. From ancient times until the present, purists have believed that language change is corruption, and that there are some correct forms that all educated people should use in speaking and writing. So, if the descriptive grammar only describes your unconscious linguistic knowledge, the prescriptive grammar tells you what rules you should know to speak the standard language. Prescriptivists blame television and schools for failing to preserve the standard language. Yet, the majority of linguists think that language is vigorous, dynamic, and constantly changing. They believe that all languages and dialects are expressive, complete, and logical. They are all rule-governed, and what is grammatical in one language may be ungrammatical in another equally prestigious language. These scholars admit that the grammar and usage of the standard English may be dominant for social and political reasons, but other dialects are linguistically equally complex, logical, and capable of producing an infinite set of sentences and to express any thought. If sentences are muddled, it is not because of the language, but because of the speakers. No grammar, therefore no language, is either superior or inferior to any other. Languages of technologically undeveloped cultures are not grammatically primitive or ill-formed in any way. Besides, all these remarks apply to spoken language. Writing, which is not acquired subconsciously but must be taught, follows certain prescriptive rules of grammar, usage, and style that the spoken language does not. Summing up, we would like to underline again that a descriptive grammar of language does not tell you how you should speak or what rules you should know to speak. It only describes your unconscious linguistic knowledge, while a prescriptive grammar tells you what rules you should know to speak the standard language. There is also a third type of grammar, so-called a teaching grammar, which is used to learn another language or a dialect. Teaching grammars are used in schools to fulfill language requirements. They can be helpful to persons who do not speak the standard or prestigious dialect, but find it would be advantageous socially and economically to do so. Teaching grammar state explicitly the rules of the language, list the words and their pronunciations, and aid in learning a new language or dialect. It's often difficult for adults to learn a second language without being instructed, even when living for an extended period in a country where the language is spoken. Teaching grammars assume that the student already knows one language and compares the grammar of the target language with the grammar of the native language. In 1957, Noam Chomsky developed a theory of transformational grammar, sometimes called Transformational Generative Grammar. This theory revolutionized the scientific study of language. According to this theory, instead of starting with minimal units, people should begin with kernel, that's elementary sentences, the number of which is limited in any language. Chomsky believed that by a limited number of kernel sentences and a set of transformational rules, one could generate and create an innumerable syntactic constructions. Each sentence in a language has two levels of representation, a deep structure and a surface structure. The deep structure represents the core semantic relations of a sentence, which is mapped or explicated in the surface structure via transformations. Chomsky and his followers formulated transformational rules with the help of which a sentence with a given grammatical structure can be transformed into a sentence with a different grammatical surface structure but the same essential meaning. For instance, the sentence John saw Mary, which is in the active voice, can be transformed into the passive construction Mary was seen by John. Transformational grammar laid the foundation for universal grammar. Chomsky assumed that there would be considerable similarities between deep structures of different languages, and that these structures would reveal properties common to all languages. The more languages of the world the linguists investigate and describe the ways in which they differ from each other, the more they discover that these differences are limited. There are linguistic universals that pertain to all languages. These universal facts are the following. I'll name, for instance, 12 of them. Number 1. Wherever humans exist, language exists too. Number 2. There are no primitive languages. All languages are equally complex and equally capable of expressing any idea in the universe. The vocabulary of any language can be expanded to include new words for new concepts and inventions. For instance, the words download, upload, email, blog, or so on have been introduced into the language quite recently. Number 3. All languages change through times. Number 4. The relationships between the sounds and the meanings of spoken languages are for the most part arbitrary. In other words, the material forms or sounds of linguistic signs bear no natural resemblance to their meaning, and the link between them is a matter of convention, and conventions differ radically across languages. Number 5 says, all human languages use a finite set of discrete sounds that are combined to form meaningful elements or words, which themselves may be combined to form an infinite set of possible sentences. Number 6. Grammars contain rules of similar kind for the formation of words and sentences. Number 7. Every spoken language includes discrete sound segments that can all be defined by a finite set of sound properties or features. For instance, every spoken language has a class of vowels and a class of consonants. Number 8. Similar grammatical categories that's part of speech, such as nouns, verbs, adjectives, numerals, etc., are found in all languages. Number 9. There are universal semantic properties like male, female, animate, or human found in every language in the world. Number 10. Every language has a way of referring to past or future time, a way of negating, forming questions, issuing commands, and so on. Syntactic universals reveal that every language has a way of forming different structural types of sentences. Number 11. Speakers of all languages are capable of producing and comprehending an infinite set of sentences. And finally, number 12, any normal child born anywhere in the world of any racial, geographical, social, or economic heritage is capable of learning any language to which he or she is exposed. This implies that the differences we find among languages cannot be due to biological differences. These principles, which define the basis of the specific grammars of all possible human languages, have been revealed and studied by universal grammar. Strong evidence for universal grammar has been found by Chomsky in the way children acquire language. He believes that children need not be deliberately taught, as they are able to learn effortlessly any human language to which they are exposed, and they learn it in definable stages beginning at a very early one. By 4 or 5 years of age, children have acquired nearly the entire adult grammar. This suggests that children are born with a genetically endowed faculty to learn and use human language, which is part of the universal grammar. Therefore, universal grammar aims to uncover the principles which characterize all human languages and to reveal the innate component of the human language faculty that makes language acquisition possible. The last type of grammar we would like to focus on is a theoretical grammar. The aim of theoretical grammar of a language is to present a theoretical description of its grammatical system, that is, scientifically analyze and define main classes of words, so-called parts of speech, their grammatical categories, and study the mechanisms of word and sentence formation and the process of speech making. Thus, we have discussed the notion of grammar, its narrow and wide interpretations. We have also defined the role of grammar both in language knowledge and language competence of humans. And finally, we have reviewed the main types of grammar through which one can observe the stages of its evolution. That's all for this lecture. Thank you.